I wanted to talk today about the internet and consciousness. And are they related? Is that the same thing? What's going on? And no, Al Gore should not be credited with creating the internet. Let's talk about today. So, for quite some time, I've been thinking about what the internet really is, the time it came about, how it's impacted us as humanity, and how we use it in our everyday life. I mean, we couldn't survive without the internet at this point. You think about life without the internet back in the 90s, we couldn't go back to that today. We wouldn't know how to function. And it's interesting when you look at things from that perspective. Like, you think about it, everything we do on the daily basis uses the internet. I mean, whether it's just from you surfing the web on the daily to get your information, your news, socialize with your friends and family, and keep in touch with people who are across the country or the globe. But then also, if you think about it, we use the internet to control everything in our daily lives, from traffic lights to transportations to hospitals. I mean, we rely on this stuff every day. It gets our food, it helps farmers. We use it so much so that it now makes sure that we get our power supply and our water and our food. I mean, seriously, it's such a big deal. But when you think about it, like really taking it back, what exactly is the internet? Because it's just a bundle of information out in the ether. And I loved listening to Dick Gregory talk about what the ether truly represents and how it's just consciousness, and how we use the internet today is really just an expanding form of consciousness, and how humanity, like, I think about it in a unique way where whatever I experience in my life, anything good or anything bad, even in moments where it's just me and I'm by myself, those memories and those thoughts will be stored in some server style consciousness grid where it flows through everybody. So what you experience in your life enters human consciousness through you, like you're one petal of a flower, right? But the whole flower absorbs the nutrients. That's basically how I think of the internet and consciousness and the ether, like how it's all pretty much describing the same thing. It's a connection to the oneness that we all are. And this idea fascinates me. It's so much more fascinating to have this conversation with someone rather than me talk to a computer screen. But it really gets you thinking about the importance of something like net neutrality, how we need to be, as representatives of the internet and the younger crowd coming into a more knowledgeable field of what human interaction is going to be involved with the internet. I think it's our duty to make sure that we protect this as much as possible. The internet is our new constitution. It really truly is. It is the only place in the world where free speech is still allowed, because they can't regulate it yet. They're trying real hard, and net neutrality would be a huge dent in society's progression of free speech moving forward. But we need to talk about that, and we need to figure out, what do we the people want with internet? We need to stop censoring, and we need to understand that censorship is a tool of power and control used by the elite, and it's used to keep us cattle, where when we start to argue about censorship and how certain people can't say things and public forums are off limits and blah blah blah, when we start to do that, we're really taking away from our power. We're really letting them win, because our power is in staying connected. And it is hearing stories that are going to make you feel uncomfortable, and they're going to push your sense of safety and normality. Like, you can't expect everybody on this globe, all 7 billion people, to understand your perspective and to agree with you, because you have to understand you're living in a culture that is providing you different scenarios and different problems and different affectations you have to become okay with, or you have to defect from. And all of us have these innate problems and battles going on in our lives. We're all dealing with something that pushes us to a point of, will we break? And all of this is stored in consciousness. Human consciousness is constantly progressing, whether we want it to or not. We are waking up every day to more and more truth, and the more truth that spills out and the more lies that are demolished, the more we're going to understand that we don't know what anything really is. We don't know what reality is. We don't know anything. And once we're comfortable saying that, starting over, completely wiping out all the bullshit and the lies that we've learned, and not letting our ego become angry for others challenging our perspectives on the world, but us truly embracing the fact that we know nothing. If we knew something, we would be taking care of each other. If we knew something, we wouldn't be going to war. If we knew something, we'd be working together as the human species to start interplanetary research and to be expanding our knowledge and our exploration of space. I mean, this is ridiculous. I have so many questions. I have questions that if you put out there or you try to ask honestly, you're given the side eye, or even worse, you're blacklisted and people think you're a kook. I mean, for real, I want to know, like, why do pilots not fly over Antarctica? Why is that not talked about? What is going on in Antarctica? Why do we all think it's just some ice cube, but it could be some hugely secretive piece of land in this globe? Like, what are we doing that we don't question why the British Empire owns 2 pieces of land down in Antarctica? All the elite have land down in Antarctica. And with us knowing how curious the species of man is, how have we not interrogated the authorities and the elite to research Antarctica? Like, why aren't we demanding photos? I'm so confused. Like, why do we pacify our voice? Why do we allow us to be walked all over? Why can't we question authority? And why is it so bad when we do? Why are the voices that do always snuffed out, shut up, or made to look crazy? I'm learning so many things about American history especially that make me just say everything I've learned is a lie. Every whitewashed history book I've ever opened is a lie. And yet I live amongst a class of people who, when I have conversations with them, they tend not to think I'm a cuckoo banana. They tend to say, yeah, you know, Christopher Columbus, he didn't discover America. Obviously, people were here. He didn't discover it. So, you know, we question things like that of our education in the past in social circles, but yet we never bring it to the surface. I grew up in an age where your parents knew that politics were rigged. You were always told you're voting for the lesser of 2 evils. And everybody talked about that, but nobody stood up and said, we demand to not have to vote for the lesser of 2 evils. We demand new choice. We demand a fucking fresh start, a sit down, a come to Jesus, if you will, sitting at a table and devising what will work for this country, because clearly something needs to change. I mean, we're seeing the atrocities committed in our politics and Bernie Sanders' campaign completely being snuffed out. And many of you don't even know about the Green Party candidate, Jill Stein. I mean, she's even more pro-humanity than Bernie Sanders, and yet she's getting no coverage. Bernie's getting 1% of the coverage. Trump gets 88% of the coverage, and he doesn't even have to leave New York City. He's just so ridiculous and racist and over the top and misogynistic and disgusting that media eats it up. The head of CBS did an interview or gave a blip of conversation where he was saying Trump is bad for America but great for business. Let the money flow. I mean, these are the people that we're allowing to raise our children. It takes a village to raise a child, and if you don't think your child is being raised by the media that is corrupting their young mind, if you don't think a child is being influenced by constantly seeing a hate monger like Donald Trump promoted on our televisions, it doesn't matter how much you dump on Trump. It doesn't matter. Your child is seeing him everywhere. He's the Kardashian of this election. And the old white saggy balls in charge are the ones that you can thank for that. And yet you're going to sit and blame Trump. It's like, no, half this country is hate mongers. You're not blaming half this country. Blame the media. Blame the source. Blame the person that's putting the spotlight on him. He's just hate. That's all he is. You can snuff it out by not viewing it. Like Raven-Symoné talks about on The View. I hate talking about this man. We only promote his name being talked about. And yet she works for ABC, owned by Disney, like this huge conglomerate that is all just pushing her to talk about Donald Trump. And yet the ladies of The View always talk about how Bernie Sanders doesn't have a chance, even though he's winning in popular vote, even though he wins all of these caucuses and primaries. and yet the votes are changed, or the ballots need recounting, or machines gave out mysteriously. It's a fraud. The White House has been given to Hillary Clinton. It was years in the making. I believe she was supposed to win in '08. I'm still confused the corruption that went on there. But it's just funny to me. It's funny that nobody talks about it. It's like, give it 6 months, it won't be anything. We're really ADD. We don't like to hold on to topics because we get bored. And we don't want to investigate, and we don't want to hold people accountable because we get bored. We need the new Kylie Jenner to replace Kim Kardashian. It's a necessity of ours. And it's sick because honestly, we're not realizing what is going on. And that's, consciousness is being stifled. And not to go too far off topic, but in my mind, this is how this stuff works. It's all related. I don't know if you've been paying attention to some of the people I bring up, like Dr. Judy Wood, Dr. Stephen Greer, Mark Passio. These people help you figure out that everything's related. Dick Gregory sitting here talking about the marches of Selma and standing in the truth of your conviction, like really believing in your message and letting the truth flow through you and knowing you're not the Almighty, you're just a messenger. But listening to him and how that relates to Dr. Judy Wood saying, hold your government accountable, something happened on 9/11. I'm a physicist, I have a chemistry degree, I know this building did not blow up, it disintegrated. And then you have Dr. Stephen Greer talking about how the government suppresses information about alien technologies and extraterrestrial life and how it's been here on Earth. And then you have other doctors like Dr. Robert Norse, ND, who's a naturopath who's been accosted by the government for half his life just for trying to cure people's, uncurable diseases like cancer and HIV and all these bone deficiency diseases. And he's bringing people back from the dead, it seems like. And all these people are made to look like the villain. All these people are trying to get consciousness raised. They're only trying to make you question, why were we told one thing and that was that? Why can't we question? And why is everyone who asks questions of authority snuffed out? It's not fair. It's not right. We need to do more to protect knowledge. I mean, this is information. Information is power. That's what people need to fight for. It's really important. The internet is power. It's consciousness. It's also sometimes had me think, is the internet maybe a form of technology given to us by an extraterrestrial race of visitor who was here at one point? Or is the internet maybe humans who came back from the future giving us a piece of technology we hadn't yet discovered that they knew would save us? Because sometimes I think about angels and demons, how they could literally be just humans stuck in other dimensions, or in other dimensions. Like a demon could be a human stuck in 2D, where an angel could be a human up in 4D. And, it expands your mind when you allow these thoughts to flow through you without shutting them down right away. And I understand they might sound crazy to you. I get it. If you were raised to believe in heaven and hell, hearing stuff like God and angels being challenged against your belief of what they originally were, that's hard. And I get that if you're an atheist or agnostic, that you don't want to hear words like gods and angels all the time. I understand that. It triggers something in you. But all I'm saying is, if you let this language flow through you and let it resonate with sound waves and whatever in your brain, sometimes it might trigger a thought or idea that challenges you in a way that creates you to grow. And you can expand your ideas. You don't have to agree with your present self now in 5 years. That's okay to change your mind. That's good. That's healthy. And we need to challenge each other to do that. But to get back to the topic on hand, I really do want to hear other people's opinions on what do you think the internet is? It really is just thought. And if you know much about plants, which, hi, hashtag out of nowhere, but no, stay with me. But here in the Pacific Northwest, my boyfriend was telling me how they're all connected to an internet, or a consciousness, if you will, via mushrooms underground. They're all tree and plant life here in the Pacific Northwest are connected to this mushroom that grows underground that basically works as a computer telling them, I'm assuming, like where water is and what land conditions are like and how humanity's treating plant life. It could be doing whatever. I don't know. It's something that doesn't get studied. It's something that's not talked about. It's fascinating. Trees have their own internet, and trees have had their own internet for thousands of years. Many, many moons before humanity had the internet, and we think we're king shit. Really? We could learn so much from plants. I mean, I have some deep conversations which make me look fucking nuts. But for real, sometimes I think, like, what if trees are an enlightened person? Like, what if trees are living in a fourth dimension state? What if they're the Buddhist, constantly meditating in peace and harmony with nature, emitting love via oxygen to the rest of humanity? I don't know. Sometimes my brain just dives into these, like, whoa, what kind of fucking space brownie did you just eat kind of mentalities. But I want to find more people to talk to this stuff about. I know there's people out there curious. I know you people have questions, and it's okay to ask, and this is a place with no censorship, and I want to keep it that way because it's important for us to get our voice out there. It's important for you to be able to ask questions and not feel that they're stupid. And that's the only way we'll learn. We need to allow each other to grow and expand our knowledge without harsh criticisms and without an instant censorship knee-jerk reaction. And, you know, sometimes it is necessary to stifle out the stupid. If somebody tries to keep a group from evolving by constantly pulling them back into the mud and making it about hate and fear and antagonism, then they need to be stifled. That's a person who is working against progression of humanity. And we need to be able to be aware of that. We need to have dialogue where we talk about that. And that's just what I wanted to keep this video about. Talk about the internet. And if you think the internet is human consciousness, do you think it's technology's way of saying, hey, if humanity doesn't want to go extinct, you need to reach out and touch your brothers and sisters across the globe. There is pain and heartache and war everywhere, but there is also love. There is love and harmony, and we need to touch that concept of humanity. It's there. We don't need to pretend it isn't anymore. But anyway, talk about it amongst yourselves. Leave comments below. I'm really curious to see where this conversation could head. And honestly, take care of yourself for the rest of the day and just cause your brain to think more. Think deeper. Peace.